guys, welcome back to a review segment by FFP. So with FFP today you have Alan.
Arun.
The movie we're reviewing today is Saaho. So obviously it is one of the most highly anticipated films of the year, and it released yesterday and we went to watch it first day as well. And here are our impressions. So we'll start with the cast itself. Our rebel star Prabhas has absolutely carried the film. He is absolutely just charismatic and pulls off the action sequences and the dance and
The dialogue delivery,
yeah.
everything. Like, personally, Prabhas was just outstanding in the film.
Hollywood, you know that they're known for their kind of punch dialogues and mass dialogues by their heroes. So I think Prabhas really had no trouble getting past that barrier because in Bahubali as well, he would put out these enigmatic speeches and people would clap and whistle for him. And in Saaho, Prabhas has many such lines and they are so whistle-worthy. It's too bad that we're in the UK because the crowds aren't as wild as you get them in the Indian cinemas. So that was a bit of a shame. But it was still a very enjoyable experience watching Prabhas be an absolute star.
Along with Prabhas, you got like Shraddha Kapoor. She was outstanding as well. She was beautiful. The role that was given to her, she pulled it off really well.
Shraddha Kapoor's emotions, she conveyed them really well.
And then we got Arun Vijay. I mean, his entry was badass, wasn't it?
Badass entry. Yeah, I think people have badass entries in this film. I think it was a very stylized film, very well edited, very well shot. So I think the characters' entries and their screen presences, I think was handled very well by the editors. That added to their kind of screen value, that screen presence.
And Arun Vijay did get a meaty role in the film as well, so
Yeah, I thought he was gonna have a little throwaway role, but he had a significant portion of the film as well. Well, without giving away too much spoilers, he has a friend in the film in the form of Murali Sharma, who is actually very good in the film because he's playing a role similar to what he played in Allu Arjun's film DJ. So he plays off that role with a lot of aplomb. Good comedic timing from the guy as well. And really well played.
And then we got a Hindi actor, Shroff.
Yeah, Shroff was ace as well. He pulls off that badass Don figure with such gravity. It was such a pleasure to see. And then we have Pandey, who we've known for comedy films and such, pulling off such a villainous act. So that was such a great performance. Then the makeover that he had as well. I mean, he pulls it off. 10 out of 10. And then we have Nitin Mukesh as well in the film, another Bollywood actor, and he pulls off his role in the film really good as well. I mean, he has a meaty role as well because we only seen glimpses of what he was capable of in the trailer. So characters we think have such a small presence within the film, from what we watched in the teaser and trailer, actually have quite an impact on the story and its characters in the actual film. And we of course have Lal from Mollywood as well. And damn, his role is badass in the film as well. So go watch it to find out what we're on about because we don't want to give too much away in case it spoils the film because there are twists and turns about. So now we go on to the story itself. Now one of the problems that I have with society nowadays is how they say that a movie has no story, where that statement in itself is actually wrong because people say that line because they don't like the film, because they didn't like the story. So then they go ahead and just go outright and say, oh, there's no story. Well, I'm sorry to say, but there is always a story. That's always what the director and the crew and the cast, everyone's trying to convey. So there's no film without actually a story taking place. So that statement in itself is wrong. And free country and all, but please start using that phrase correctly. The story that you didn't like doesn't mean there is no story in the film. The story could be all over the place, but there is still in effect a story. So it's all up to each person's individual tastes, but we liked it. That is the simple solution to that. We liked the story. It was actually very badass, and all the portions of the film we generally liked. I think the first half had a bit of a drag tone because of some extended scenes and the romance itself.
Yeah.
I think the comedy could have worked a little better in parts as well, but overall it did work within the kind of limited frames that it had, because it was overall a serious film.
And believe it or not, after the film was ended, we only had a few people in cinemas, but everyone was clapping at the end of the film because literally everyone that was watching with us thoroughly enjoyed the film, and that was from a different age frame. There was adults, kids, teenagers, and everyone loved it.
It had an age rating of 15 as well, so of course it has that amount of violence and stuff in it. But anyways, the story we liked a lot. There's a little bit of predictability to it, but still I think a lot of people are just taken aback by the flashy sequences and the action and everything, so that they actually take their mind off of that predictability for a second, which is why some are wowed at the end, and when everything is all the dots are connected.
Yeah, that's when it's it's a really good film.
Yeah, well, everything in the film is set out for a reason, and it's just oh, there it is.
The ending is just...
The ending shot is just badass. As a Prabhas fan, that was just what I wanted to see, because of the fact that it was so stylized as well. So Sujeeth, for having his second film, actually pulls off a magnificent job carrying this Titanic of a movie, with this enormous cast, enormous production crew, and he pulls off, and gives us such a movie that is such a treat to watch. So I do humbly implore you, go and give it a watch, because it is 3 years of hard work by the entire crew, and it's worth it, honestly.
And just to come back to the point he made earlier regarding there is no story, when the previous show started, people start tweeting about there is no story in the film, there is no story. I mean, come on guys.
Yeah, be practical. Just because you thought that the story wasn't up to your standard doesn't mean that you can go ahead and say there's no story. It's just with everybody out there saying there's no story for a film. We're not just talking about Saaho. So I think it's about starting to use that tagline properly. And I think if you found it to be a waste of your time, that is...
We respect that.
We respect that, and that is because of your movie tastes. But we in general love the kind of movie that is Saaho. We go in for entertainment, we want to switch off our brains for a bit and just have fun. And that is exactly what Saaho does. Going on to the next part, the fight sequences. Absolutely mad job. Just so well choreographed, and the BGM to go with it is just thumping, and you can feel the power of the punches and the kicks and the slams. Very well shot. The cameras, I think they were filmed with IMAX cameras as well, which add to the budget. So, but we didn't watch it in IMAX, so we might not have gone the extra frames, but still, the fight sequences have been just a highlight. There are quite a few in the film.
They're always so worth it. One of my favorite fight sequences was probably you guys probably saw it in the trailer and teasers when Prabhas and Shraddha Kapoor working together to battle out bad guys. When you watch it in the actual cinema, it's a totally different experience, and it was a treat to watch.
Yeah, just an absolute treat. A big plus to the movie, the fight sequences, because I'm a fan of mass movies in general. But these weren't mass fight sequences. They were so stylized and proper action. Credit to Prabhas for actually pulling it off with the kind of flexibility and the strength to actually show the power of these action sequences. So let's talk about the songs. So the songs, I think, were placed in the right places, but I think the songs didn't add anything to the movie. I think, except from one song that adds to the club sequence, Psycho Saiyan, which actually was a treat on the big screen. To be honest, all songs don't do it justice on YouTube or the music streaming services. I think it is actually pretty damn good on the big screen.
The beats go dang.
Yeah, because the cinema speakers actually give it the thump and the beat that it needs to be enjoyed than your own phone speaker or your headphones or whatever. But each to his own. I think the songs worked, but I think the movie could have done without it. Because of the fact that it's a 3-hour long film. So I think we'll actually include the runtime in this as well. So the fact that it's a nearly or
2 hour 50 minutes.
2 hour 50 minutes, nearly 3 hours. The songs actually add a little bit of drag. I think that the second half what, one song?
Yeah, one song. I think first half had like around 2 or 3 songs, so that kind of dragged it down a bit.
Yeah, the first half has definitely got that drag, but you know, it's obviously, I think the fight sequences and like all the actual stylized portions actually speed up the movie quite a bit. To me, it didn't feel like 3 hours. Definitely not.
It went fast.
It went fast. When you get to the second half, things start like going at a rapid speed. So then, you know, you're just like in it for the ride, and you cruise till the end.
One of the things regarding the runtime was that people were getting confused in the first half, especially because they were bringing out more information there, and then, you know, changing the scene to like something else. You know, that kind of confused people a tiny bit, but that's normal, isn't it?
There was a lot of back and forth. The CGI and the production value is another section that we want to talk about. I feel like the CGI was like next level, top notch. Yeah, the visuals were exactly like those that were portrayed in the teaser and trailer.
From start to finish, you can see the CGI and the VFX just outstanding. It's like the entire film. You can see where the budget goes into. People saying that the 350 crore is just wasted. But it's not. I mean, watch the film, you can see where it's gone into.
Because the world that's portrayed in Saaho is very futuristic. Because, you know, there's all these futuristic devices and futuristic, like, jet suits and whatnot. So with that kind of society that's portrayed in the film, you kind of need a lot of budget that can portray that with justice. So that's why the budget is so high at the same time. And the sequences that are in the film require a lot of money, guys. We're not kidding. They are big. The set pieces are just magnificent. And then comes the comparison to Bahubali. Of course, Bahubali 1 and 2 made Prabhas the pan-India star that he is today. And obviously Saaho is obviously piggybacking off that, you know, hype and that credibility. So obviously there's a lot of negative talk right now because of the fact that, you know, Bahubali 2 set such a standard that Saaho just couldn't live up to it for some people, hence they're trashing Saaho completely. And I feel like you can't do that because Rajamouli's like style and substance with the Bahubali is like a totally different dimension in comparison to the kind of modern take of Saaho. So they're two different worlds, and I would say don't compare them. Like, leave Bahubali in one place and view Saaho from a different perspective,
and you will love it.
And you will love it. Because when you keep comparing things, you're obviously gonna, you know, have some shortcomings, and then you're just not gonna like it. Because of the fact that you hold something in such high regard, and then you try to compare it in every way and try not to love it for what it is, then, you know, obviously it falls short. So accept Saaho for what it is and see it without the prejudice that is created by, you know, the online impressions, and then you may not like it. That's up to you. So just to wrap up this review, we thoroughly enjoyed Saaho, and my rating for it would be about 4 out of 5, like straight out. Prabhas and the rest of the crew carry the film for me with their superb performances. Even though the songs and the romance may add a little bit of a drag to the otherwise fast-paced film, the action sequences and the production value, everything else with the film really just make the film a 4 out of 5 for me. A really enjoyable experience in the cinemas.
My rating would be 4 out of 5 as well. Simply the same reason, but I'm giving it 1 star down because of the drag in the first half. That kind of played a bit of a spoil for, but overall the film is an enjoyable experience, and I suggest everyone to just give it one time, just give it a go at least once. And like I said, you may enjoy it and you may not like it, but as far as we know, like, we thoroughly enjoyed it. And if you're a fan of like if you watch a lot of Hollywood films, you will thoroughly enjoy Saaho as well.
So yes, people like have their own likes and dislikes. That is normal. So you may slate us for liking the film, but that is our opinion, our like. If you didn't like it, it's because, you know, you prefer another form of cinema. You probably thought that, you know, 3 years of waiting for a film like this and for it to have ended to be something that displeased you would, you know, obviously want you to troll it and like give it a backlash. But I do say this, like, if you don't like the film, you don't like the film, you move on. But if you do, then show support for it and actually applaud the cast, the crew, everybody who worked really hard on it for the 2-3 years, you know, that they've done a good job. That's what they want to hear. They've made this film for you, the audience, and we, as the audience, like it. We love it. Hopefully you take some of the points we've said in our review and consider watching it or not. That's up to you. It's your money. Yeah, you spend it however you want. So, as usual, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next one.